Welcome, everybody, to episode 13 of Meet with Cheese Metaverse Interviews. I'm your host, Le Drop with Cheese, coming to you from the Metaverse. Today, I have a very, very special guest for you. He's one of my oldest pals on LinkedIn in the Metaverse. He is a Mutant Ape Yacht Club owner. He is the founder of BigFan.io and Nativz Group, and he's a fractionalized owner of the Big Three. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Eugene O'Brien.
Thanks very much for the glowing intro, Joey.
Hey, I mean, if people need to know about you because you're kind of a big deal in this space, and I'm really excited about what you have going on, and seeing you progress over the last, year and a half-ish has been exciting for both of us. So thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem, Joey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, cheers. I usually don't have a drink with the guests, but Eugene, you're in Ireland, and I'm just happy to finally get to see you and talk to you a little bit about what you have going on and tell people.
Brilliant.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and like how you ended up where you are now in the metaverse.
Brilliant, Joey. Look, what I'll do, I'll try and keep this concise and quick, because I could keep you here for hours. So look, my background is in marketing. I got involved in blockchain back in 2013. Initially, when I got involved, I suppose I was pretty tentative in that I was looking to see would it last. So I suppose I spent the first year or two doing a lot of research around it and mostly trading it. I suppose when I say trading it, would have been buying it at that stage. Then in 14, 15, when I knew that this was here to stay, I set up a consultancy called cryptocurrencyworld.com, where I suppose we were helping a lot of companies with jurisdiction evaluation as well as licensing throughout Europe that wanted to set up operations. I suppose within that time frame, it was very good in that I suppose it really extended my network of contacts as well as people in the space, and I suppose having a good feel on the industry and where it was going, and I suppose what obstacles it was going to encounter in that growth cycle. Then leading into 16, 17, we had the ICO boom and bust. That was a very exciting time in that I suppose a lot of companies that were finding it hard to get funding, that were heavily involved in this space, now had a mechanism where they were able to raise funds and actually deploy their projects and get into other projects. One project in particular that I was looking at that time would have been Socios, the fan token project that did a raise back in 17. I think it was around 60 million that they raised within that time, that essentially springboarded them to where they are today. So while being in that space, seeing what was happening in the ICO space at that time, the companies that were getting funded, and I suppose then subsequently the fallout from that with a certain number of companies. 18 and 19, I was still involved in projects, but really in 19, I suppose I started narrowing my focus down into NFTs, which led me down that rabbit hole, which obviously led me into metaverses, where then I started developing in Somnian space in late 19. And then we moved on to crypto voxels, which is now called voxels, with Decentraland, Sandbox, and I suppose the main decentralized metaverses back then. I started off, I suppose, with a lot of testing and pushing the limitations of what we could do. And then we started building stadiums. So I would have played rugby for the last 25 years. Now I'm playing tennis and just running and hiking. So I'd be heavily involved in sports. So it was intriguing for me to see what Socios were doing with their fan tokens and how they were engaging their fans with Web3 tech was absolutely intriguing to me, and which is a perfect use case for this tech as well. So while seeing all this happening and being heavily involved in metaverses and developing out stadiums, then I would have seen the advent of So Rare that came up. And then obviously we have NBA Top Shot, which I would have been in the first 900 users in the early beta, which really I suppose NBA Top Shot really exploded the NFT space, that a lot of people that weren't in this space would actually come in initially through NBA Top Shot and then progressed onto a lot more than that. So seeing these different companies coming up, seeing what we were doing in the metaverse, is my background, was a bit of a no-brainer. Connected the dots. Let's do the sporting collectible platforms with an emphasis on functionality, which essentially would be the metaverses. That would be the playground for them. And because we had the infrastructure built out within the metaverses, that was one component of it that we didn't have complete, but we had fairly well developed, which enabled us then to spend a lot more time, I suppose, on onboarding new teams, clubs within that time frame. So that's essentially, I suppose, where the ingredients and the makings of Big Fan that I set up. Also to one of my co-founders, Kurt Pittman, also played rugby, but he played rugby league. So I played rugby union. He played rugby league for about 25 years from New Zealand. Also too, he's a very vast experience working on the commercial sports side, where he worked for 10 years in Fulham, 10 years in Brentford, of head of sales and marketing. So while I brought the Web3 knowledge, network, strategy, Kurt would have bought the sports, the commercials around sports, and more importantly, when we go into a club or a league, what do they want to hear from us, and how do they want this to fit, and how do they want to implement a Web3 strategy? So that's essentially the kind of, I suppose, a brief on the kind of my background, and I suppose what kind of led us into Big Fan and the creation of Big Fan. And then another spin-off from that was about a year and a half ago. We then set up an esports team called Nativz. They compete in the League of Legends in Northern Europe, as well as competing in Valorant as well. So we have them set up at the moment. They're doing very well. So they're on their way to promotion into Division 1 in the Northern European division. And our Valorant team is doing very well as well. So what we find is that we're exploring Web3 strategies through our esports team, as well as pushing them performance-wise, and really to be best in class, because there's only 3 teams here in Ireland, esports teams. So it's good to be leading the pack, and Ireland's kind of really pivoting itself to be a kind of esports Web3, I suppose, capital of Europe, in that Riot Games are just setting up an €18 million facility in Dublin, as well as colleges now in Ireland are providing degree courses for esports. So yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff happening at the moment.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot going on, because I feel like you talked a bunch about what you're doing now, but that's just like a little bit. So I know you're a busy guy, and thanks again for taking the time. So Big Fan Collectibles, you guys were recently part of Techstars, right? And you're going to be doing, you have a whole bunch of professional sports teams already signed up with you, right?
Yeah, so essentially just going to give you a brief on what we're doing in, say, Big Fan, and then I can lead it into the Techstars. So essentially at Big Fan, we're creating sporting collectibles for rights holders to build new revenues, unlock new audiences, access new insight, and engage fans through Web3 technology. Okay, so what we do is we either get approached by a club, or we approach a club, rights holder, or organization. And what we do is we develop a Web3 strategy for that organization, but we do in a staged, managed deployment, in that some clubs want to go heavy and hard and fast, while other clubs want to take it a lot more slower, and based on, I suppose, KPIs going through the process, that it'll enable them to go into the next, I suppose, growth cycle of that strategy that's put in place. So we go in, we build out a strategy for them, and essentially we deploy that strategy then for them, Joey. So at Big Fan currently, our platform is nearing completion. We're literally fixing up the front end look and feel of it at the moment. where essentially you'll be able to come on to our platform, set up your profile, mint a collectible, mint a pack, have it into your profile account, as well as we'll have our own marketplace. So as you can see, I suppose within this space and all the different marketplaces, that it's very fragmented. I suppose we're hoping that we'll have a kind of one-stop shop for sporting enthusiasts and crypto enthusiasts to go to. But again, our NFTs are going to be built on Poly. They're going to be 1155s. So people are more than open to transferring them into their MetaMask or going to other marketplaces with. But with our research, Joey, what we're finding out is that sports first fans, very few of them are crypto enthusiasts. And we're managing that experience because essentially we're trying to manage a Web2 experience within a Web3 environment. So, okay, you'll go, what do you mean by that? Well, number one thing is the payment gateway is hugely important. Okay, asking someone to go on that doesn't know about cryptocurrency, convert their wallet, buy Poly, and then go on and purchase it, it's too big a step, as well as set up a wallet. So we've really kind of minimized and simplified the process there, that it's very easy for someone to come on, buy a collectible with a credit card, still have functionality with it, but be able to stay within the platform and be able to use it and take advantage of it as much as they can, while always having the opportunity to leave the platform if they so choose. So I suppose that's in regards to the platform. So we're gearing up for launch in September. So everyone's kind of holiday mode at the moment. Everyone's going to be back to work this week and next. So September we feel is going to be a good time for a release. We've also then, I suppose, within Big Fan in regards onboarding, we've onboarded, I suppose, a number of teams as well as leagues. One being the GAA here in Ireland, which is a homegrown sport, but which is very popular amongst the Irish expat community, which actually accounts for 80 to 90 million people. While also too, we're going further afield. So we also have Orange County Soccer Club in Orange County in the States. They signed up, a few other American teams signed up, as well as some English teams. And we have a lot more very interesting ones to release probably over the next coming weeks as well, that are going to be very fun, I suppose, projects to work on. So in regards then, I suppose, partnerships, we're always pushing our, I suppose, partnerships in relation to other companies and other metaverses as well. So obviously we're kind of waiting for the SDK to be fully released from the other side, where we're going to be developing in there. While at the moment we're developing in Somnium, Foxhalls, Decentraland, the Sandbox, the Realm, and the other side is essentially where we're developing at the moment. But we're also too looking at maybe some centralized metaverses such as Roblox. At the end of the day, they have 200 million concurrent users daily with them. It's an amount of users that can't be ignored within this space, where numbers is definitely kind of on the tip of everyone's tongue with it, and with attendance and activities within these metaverses. So partnerships are going very well. We're also partnering with, I suppose, suppliers, service providers that do digi-physical, as well as physical items that can be converted then into NFTs. So we feel, because we're dealing with sports fans, that the digi-physical side of things are going to be very important, in that sports fans are going to want to see physical merchandise more than they're going to want to see digital items. So we have to be very, I suppose, aware of that and address that as well. In regards to metaverses, as I was speaking to you about, we're pushing the envelope there all the time, with expanding our, I suppose, our network of them, in that we find that a certain amount of metaverses have their certain pros and cons with them. Like we all know, look, the Sandbox isn't released yet. Do you know what I mean? Somnium Space focuses a lot more on virtual reality, but not gaming. Then we have Realm, which is actually a new one that's out. That seems actually to be the best full stack solution that we've found in around the metaverses at the moment. So we're actually developing a project in there now as well. So we're pushing that envelope all the time, as well as then I suppose dealing with new service providers that would specialize in augmented reality. In that, I suppose we want to push the boundaries of what we can do with our collectibles as much as we can. Because Joey, as you know, with this space, that it just moves so quickly that you have to move quicker. So, so yeah, that's kind of I suppose again a brief snapshot and kind of what goes on behind the scenes in Big Fan.
Yeah, that's so much awesome building you're doing. I love it. You know, this is why I wanted to speak with you, because people need to know, like, hey, there's this company in Ireland. You may have heard of them, you may not have, but they are building so many things, so many cool projects that you guys have your hands on. And yeah, you're right. Like, it's a race. If you're building in the metaverse, you can't take a day off. You have to keep going. You have to work harder than the next guy who's not taking any days off, you know, and be innovative and creative with ways to engage the end users. And that is also constantly changing as well. So, but yeah, I think the digital, you call it the digi-fizzy. I like that one because I think here we call it phygital, you know, physical, digital.
Right.
So what,
Yeah.
either way, you're right. It's definitely even NFT collectors, you know, your Bored Ape, Mutant Ape, you know, you want to get the hoodie, the swag, anything that you can touch that has the brand logo on is definitely something that collectors love, and whether they're NFT or sports. But you know, you're in Ireland. What would you say like the community of Web3 is like over there? I mean, you've been in the space for a long time now. So how is it like? What's it like now, and how have you seen it transform?
I suppose look back in 13, it was absolutely minuscule in that. Look, even to try and find out information about Bitcoin at that time was actually kind of difficult enough, in that you really needed to do a bit of digging to find out about it. So community back then was absolutely very small. Like, I do have one or two friends that would be, I suppose, very high up in IT companies that might have heard it in college in passing back in 2012, but never did anything about it because it was just so far-fetched at that stage. So when I got started really back in 13, I suppose I wasn't interacting with many people in Ireland because there wasn't many people that knew about it or could add value in around it. And then leading in, I suppose, to 15, there was a lot more people in Ireland. Well, when I say a lot more, you could be talking 10 or 20 people that actually kind of were looking into it and had a bit more experience with it. Like, I can remember meeting up in a meetup in Dublin. I'd say it was 16, and it was it was about 16 or 17. Back of a pub, I think there was about 8 people there, more or less. Like, and it was actually funny that I remember the topic of the day was DNS domains, and it was actually the .it was the conversation piece that night. Whoever thought the domains and the .it thing would get to where it has now. But yeah, so that was kind of 16. So very fragmented, very small groupings of people. Obviously, then over the years, the more popular it got, more prevalent it got, the more people following it. So yeah, I'd like to say no, that there's a lot more than 10 people meeting up for events, and it's a very close-knit, I suppose, community. But I suppose the good thing these days, Joey, is I suppose, look, with COVID and all that, that Zoom and interacting with people internationally is so prevalent now that yeah, not having many people in Ireland into it wasn't a barrier for me. Do you know what I mean? So we could still get out there. But no, the scene is very healthy in there. And we also got accepted into Techstars. They do an accelerator program, the first Web3 accelerator program to be in Ireland. So we got accepted into that, and there was 9 other companies in it, and there was 3 of those companies were Irish. So there's stuff happening here, but look, everything's relative. We have a very small population, so yeah, that has to be kept in mind as well. But a very vibrant scene, and as you know, with Ireland, we're yeah, we like doing things fast and we like getting things over the line. So yeah, I think you'll be hearing a lot more about Irish Web3 projects in the future.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I went to an event last week, NFT MKE. They just do a meetup. There were 8 people there. so in this part of the world, you know, Chicago, Midwest, Milwaukee, it's very like Milwaukee's a very small scene for NFT crypto. Chicago's getting bigger. New York, Miami obviously are enormous, but it's kind of funny to see how I'm curious to see what's going to be like in 6 years from now at NFT MKE meetups. You know, it could be a whole nightclub, you know, or something, a big party. But yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that Ireland's coming along. Would you say like the Web3 community in Ireland, do you like travel a lot within Europe to like meet with other projects and founders, or you just kind of do that all on Zoom?
Well, no, I think, look, there's since COVID is over, a lot more traveling. So there was we'd an event in Berlin with the other Techstars cohort. So there would be other Techstars accelerator programs throughout Europe. So what we do, we're all connected and we all kind of meet up at these events. So there would be in Berlin, Amsterdam, which are kind of ones off the top of my head. And we have some upcoming ones now coming up this year before Christmas, where we'll all meet up again. Look, Joey, you may know, like Zoom is grand, do you know what I mean? But it still doesn't beat meeting people face to face. And I'm sure you can attest to that because from looking at where you've been around a lot of these conferences lately. So I'm sure you can validate that point.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I love talking to people on Zoom interviews and learning about what they have going on, but it doesn't beat in real life, and just feeding off people's energy, and everyone's so excited about what they're building and the future's bright, you know, like you don't get that energy from a lot of people doing it this way. But yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you at some conferences in Miami, hopefully.
Well, as I said, Miami is calling, Joey. So we're definitely going to have some fun times down there.
Yeah, for sure, man. They're trying to be the crypto capital of the world, you know, and they have the right mayor to kind of help push them into the future. It's really an exciting time down there for them. And one other thing we were talking about, so you're like a fractionalized owner of the Aliens Big Three basketball team, right?
Yeah. So that's an interesting story. So I came across them a few months back, and obviously when I see NFTs in sports, that's obviously a calling card for me. Generally, we're definitely at yeah, I go investigating. So yeah, so Ice Cube, they have a tournament, 12 teams that they hold in the spring, and obviously it's a basketball, a lot of NBA superstars or retired superstars that play in it. So it'd be very kind of a popular tournament. But what the guys did is essentially they fractionalized teams where you can own a percentage of the team, and I suppose get a lot of benefits with owning that NFT. There's, I suppose, 2 different types of NFT. First, there's a gold one, there's a fire one. The gold one gives you limited rights in around the team, voting, what can happen, merch, free VIP tickets if you want to attend the game. Then the fire collectibles go a step further, where essentially you can start putting your IP onto the jersey, so you can put the logo of your company on their jerseys and on their merchandise as well. So brilliant, love the concept, really do. Do you know what I mean? Now I do know the release, I suppose, was affected because of the market, essentially. So they came out with their first release, and it didn't go too well for them. They had to tweak a few things in it, and then they went out for a re-release just based on the market conditions and doing a few changes, and it went okay for them. So the season's been very entertaining. and I suppose we're looking to get a fire NFT on it, the Aliens team, because we'd love to get more involved with them. And I suppose we want to get more integrated into the US as well. And this would be a great way to do it, as well as too, Snoop Dogg, a lot of other prevalent Eminem have invested in big three teams as well. As you know, Snoop Dogg and all that is in the sandbox as well. So there's a lot of kind of crossovers and interconnectors with the big three.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really cool project or program, the way that they're allowing fractionalized ownership through NFTs. The big three is really cool. I know the guy that is the announcer for it, Tattoo. I actually got to hang out with him in LA for a couple of days. He knows a friend of a friend. But he showed up at our house with this box of these pre-rolled joints that were just the most amazing, expensive, high-end, like a gold box. You know, it was really cool experience, and he's a great guy. But you also have, like, aside from fractionalized ownership NFT, you have a bunch of NFTs, a really impressive collection, in my opinion. What are some of your favorite NFTs in your collection?
Oh, good question. I suppose the thing is, I'm a kind of collector by heart anyway, Joy. So when I was younger, I actually collected the sports Panini cards, as well as a lot of other stuff. My wife would definitely say that I'm a hoarder. Do you know what I mean? I've a yard that's an acre with about 15, 20-foot containers in the yard that are all full. So she's probably right in around that. So when I started collecting my first NFT. Okay, so where was my first NFT? Nifty Gateway. So I went on to Nifty Gateway. It was actually their first drop. So they opened up. Was it 21 just after 2020, just after Christmas? I think it was February or March they launched. So when I was doing my NFT rabbit hole, obviously I got into Nifty Gateway, got into OpenSea, got into Discord, the usual ones. But I suppose I knew the Winklevoss brothers just from reading articles about them. So when I saw the Nifty Gateway, the story about it, how they invested in the Cock Foster brothers, the two twins, which they're two twins as well as the Winklevoss brothers. The kind of story behind it, and I suppose the value that the Winklevoss brothers bought with having their payment gateway that you go on and pay with a credit card straight away. So I bought, what was it? What's his name? He does runners. I can't remember. He does sneakers in Lego. Tom Yo, that's who it is. So I bought some Tom Yo runners at that time. I actually paid my credit card. I didn't buy it with crypto at the time. And yeah, after that then I bought a bunch. I have a collection, I suppose, of Tom Yo runners. Obviously a collection of what I went into next then was Metaverse lands. I suppose being Irish, we have a strong connection with land, even though it might be digital. So I started buying up, I suppose, loads of land within Somnian Space, Sandbox, Crypto Voxels at the time. Well, then I suppose, I was buying a lot of tokens, so it would have been chilies, all that. So it was a huge variety between, I suppose, Metaverse lands, then the PFP projects came on. So I was fortunate enough to get 3 Bored Apes. I didn't mint them. I bought them a day and a half after they minted. So I bought them off OpenSea, actually thinking they were another collection that a person I knew was doing, but they weren't. So bought 3 of those, and then look, the PFP thing then exploded after the Bored Apes. So obviously I went into a lot, Sneaky Vampire, Subducks, which is another one, Frankie Aguilera. I actually thought the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection was similar kind of artwork to Frankie Aguilera, and that's the reason I bought it. But obviously then when Frankie came out with his project Subducts, I bought a load of those as well. So, but seeing what they could do with PFPs, turning it into a community and a membership model, and rewarding then people and incentivizing usage within that community was brilliant, really, to be honest. And look, I don't think anyone cannot say that the Board APR Club are trailblazers in this space. And I suppose I find it very hard in this space just because I've been in it so long to get excited. Do you know what I mean? And man, they always have me in the edge of my seat. Like what they did with CryptoPunks and Meebits, unbelievable. The airdrop, everything they did with the companions, and the way they set the trend for the whole industry is, yeah, it's unbelievable, really, to be honest, what they have done. So, so yeah, so kind of between, I suppose, Metaverse Lands, PFPs, I suppose then Genesis passes, like passes for the big three and the fractional ownership would be others. So yeah, I would say I have a very structured and varied collection, but I wouldn't be one to be going into every collection and just buying anything I see. I'd be, I suppose, I do a bit of homework into it before I buy a collection. So yeah, that's kind of in regards to that.
Yeah, that's amazing that you accidentally bought Bored Apes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
yeah.
feel like when we talked a year ago ish about your we started talking about collecting NFTs, and you'd already, even a year ago, you had a lot of really impressive, like those Subducts were making money every day, and just whatever your betting process is, you do a very good job with, is what I'm saying here. So
yeah, and plus too, I was very fortunate with my timing in that 2020 is when I was buying full hog, and look, you could have had your eyes closed in 2020, and whatever you bought was going to go up anyway. But yeah, 2020 timing definitely had a huge thing, because if you get in at a good price, you can take the volatility and still make money, essentially with it. But it's beautiful, I suppose, what Subducts did and Sneaky Vampires, the way you could stake them and get earn the underlying currency. Same with Axie now, with Axie Land at the moment, that you can earn Axies from it with staking it, is a great mechanism for keeping a community together and incentivizing people holding on and hodling.
Yeah, I love the staking capabilities of these projects to earn their tokens, because some of them, they have APRs of 1,000% right now, like some projects on Wax even. So there's just so much out.
Wax. Yeah, Wax, that brings back memories. Actually, I bought who's the guy from Star Wars?
William
who's
Shatner.
The main actor in Star Wars? Yeah, William Shatner. I actually bought one of his NFTs back in the day as well. So I would have bought a lot of Wax, but I think Wax have been they haven't been as prevalent as they were before. Joey, they haven't. They were heavy hitting there kind of year and a half, 2 years ago. I don't know what they're up to now.
They do have a lot of transactions still daily. I want to say they had more than OpenSea in like August or July. So they just have a lot of really inexpensive NFTs that anyone can create, and they do have some big brands like Funko and DC, but they're doing pretty much everything on Wax nowadays is inexpensive, and you can make money with it. It's really interesting, kind of the different projects that they have that I've been involved with purchasing. There's like a live auction marketplace called Junkie, and a lot of the NFTs that they're auctioning off are on Wax, but anytime it's a new project, they kind of teach you about it. So one I'm looking forward to is the NFT draft.io. I stacked my team. I've been playing fantasy football for 19 years. And now there's an NFT version. Let's go. It's like my two favorite things right now. So it's, yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I remember you mentioning that earlier. It's definitely one of the ones that that I need to try out. Also, too, Dapper Labs just came out with a new NFL one there as well. So, yeah, they're the two I need to get on to and try straight away.
Yeah, Dapper Labs. I mean, they have Record Shop, NFL All Day, Top Shot. There's another one. Oh, UFC Strike. They're just like picking up
Hmm.
all sorts of sports right now. And it's kind of funny hearing your progression as you were collecting. It's like I started on Nifty Gateway and Sweet. Then I, have 100 Top Shot moments just like you. Nifty Gateway was pretty good in the beginning there for a little while. I was like flipping stuff for like double, triple. Um, but
I,
yeah,
I, when it released first, it was very popular. I think mainly because of the fee gateway, the way you could go on and just pay with your credit card easily with it. It was actually the first NFT platform to provide that. You couldn't do that on OpenSea or anything. So that's really kind of how they got it. And I suppose, look, in fairness to them, they stuck to their trade in that they really focused on the art aspect. Obviously, they had Beetle on it as well, and Josie on it too. That big, huge names within the space. So in fairness, they didn't go away and trying to do everything. Do you know what I mean? They kind of focused on one area, did that well, and then they started kind of expanding then after that, after they kind of got their core community. But I think OpenSea then it just got too popular, and it would have taken a lot of I would say the Nifty Gateway buyers, but still brilliant platform. And I think they actually Boss Logic. I think they have a release coming up for Boss Logic. Could be the 24th of this month, if I'm not tomorrow. Actually, I think they have Boss Logic, which is a very good artist. So they have a drop from him tomorrow as well.
yes, check it out, everyone. Boss Logic on Nifty Gateway tomorrow. So you obviously have a lot of football teams you're trying to go after and part of Big Fan. Have you heard of Wrexham Football Club? Are you familiar with them?
Yes, Joey. Yeah.
So I just learned this recently, but Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney purchased the team, and they're going to be. There's a whole documentary coming out about it. So, what is your take on that?
Well, that happened. I say that happened about a year ago, a year and a half ago. Actually, we got in contact with the team straight away. I think the community manager there at Wrexham was kind of a bit snowed under, I think, after the announcement of Ryan Reynolds and the guys buying the place up. So I find it very good. Look, I suppose ownership of soccer teams it either can go two ways, either very well or very bad. Do you know what I mean? So it'd be
Yeah,
very interesting to see what they're going to bring to the table here and what they're going to do different. I can't see the reason in buying a soccer team or do anything like that unless you're going to try and do something a bit different and make a mark, just like what we did with Nativz, the sports team that we have. But a very interesting team, and I suppose one that we're going to be closely watching, Joey.
yeah. You know what I think could add to their success is if they had collectibles for their fans and experiences available as NFTs on the Big Fan platform.
Oh, listen, exactly. I've been knocking on the door, but as I said, usually I knock twice, but I won't knock a third time.
I agree. I like that. Why do you have to remind people 3 times that you're going to get value out of this business relationship or any kind of relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been great. I just really have one last question, and then I'll tell people. We'll just plug you at the end and how people can get a hold of you, and they should be setting up a Big Fan account and getting ready for the big marketplace release.
Yep.
But the Rose of Tralee competition is happening in Ireland right now. Do you have any favorites?
Well, look, I suppose Joey, me being from Cork, I'm going to have to go with the Cork Rose of Tralee. But yeah, no, it's a great event, and I suppose look, it's kind of like an international event now, Joey, isn't it? It's kind of getting headlines like that. So yeah, look, I'll be going for the Cork Rose. But look, I wish them all luck, really, to be honest, with it. At the end of the day, it's a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean? And Yeah, life is too short to be taking things too seriously.
Right, absolutely. Up Donegal, I'm rooting for the Donegal Rose, you know? I mean, where all my family lives over in Ireland. So, um,
The,
yeah,
the
I saw an
final
article.
the final is on tonight.
Yeah, the Donegal gal Rose is going to be interviewing. I think she's fourth on the interviews tonight. But you know what? We should be able to buy an NFT of the different contestants. So maybe
Mm,
that's another uh,
avenue.
collectible or project that we could be working on, Eugene, you and I.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, yeah, I think there was look for everything, every comp or every event like that, even for ticketing. Do you know what I mean? That they don't need to throw the kitchen sink at it. They can start off with something small and based on results, then go forward with it. So I suppose look, we're looking into ticketing solutions as well for teams and how that could kind of benefit them. So yeah, we have a fairly large rule book now of what we can do for clubs, with ticketing being one main component of it, Joey.
Yeah, the ticketing, the proof of attendance tickets, you know. I mean, I didn't know POAPs were such a big thing. Like I have them, I've been collecting them for a year, but like when I was at Bitcoin Miami this year, there were people
Mm.
that were, where's the POAP? And like they were going to events just to collect as many POAPs, and it was like a really fun thing for them. And I get it. I'm like you, man. I'm an old school collector, baseball cards. I have a whole bunch of the little figures, the starting lineup ones. I got a Jordan Space Jam guy right back there, you know. So, and then now it's all these.
Yeah,
But yeah, I really like how everyone's adopting NFTs, blockchain. Everyone has a Web3 strategy, and you know you're going to be one of the huge builders in the space that we're all going to be talking about one day. So don't forget about the little guys, Eugene.
definitely not, Joey. Look, I suppose you know the way we kind of work. We keep our heads down and keep driving on. Do you know what I mean? And so yeah, we've a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I think leading into the September, you're going to hear a lot more news about us and releases about us. And yeah, I'm just happy to kind of share that with everyone and get things going.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Eugene. It's so great to speak with you. I'm taken aback by how much you're building, and keep going, man. Any way we can help you, we're here for you, man.
Great stuff, Joe. Listen, great being on it, and thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you so